Welcome back to Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate Prowler Only. Last time we took on the 5 Kings of Destruction, which has us hunting the Fated Four once again in their hyper forms with Hyper Devil Joe at the end. This time we'll be taking on another Elder Dragon. Now, this is an event one, as we've been doing events, of course. And I was looking for the Elder Dragon with the highest HP. Now, if that is our only criteria, then Lao in its event form is the correct answer at, I think, 68,000, which is 20,000 more than its regular version. You can see it's complete here, and that is because I got a repel on it. I'm not really interested in doing this because it's not really anything related to Prowler. The majority of the time you are using the ballista and the cannons, specifically the cannons. So not really much for Prowler to do there to shine. And I think unless you're like maybe using Valor Heavy Bowgun or something like that, I don't really know the feasibility of actually getting a slay on it solo without like heroics stuff. I guess if you're, really well versed in a weapon, you could probably get it done, but I don't really see the point because I can repel it, and repelling it's pretty simple for the most part as long as you're using the cannons and stuff like that. And even then, when I did the quest, I didn't have any special food skills or transporter skills anyways, so the cannons weren't dealing more damage. I wasn't moving any quicker or able to dodge with the cannon in my hand, anything like that. So I didn't find it to be that particularly interesting of a metric to test Prowler by, and that's kind of our point of doing the DLC quests. So, the one that is the standard with the highest HP is Fatalis, the non-siege, specifically Crimson Fatalis. It has about 34,000, which is 1,000 more than Nakarkos. And Nakarkos actually has ballista and other stuff like that, which you can use to damage him, and also a very, very, very weak spot on his back that will help you deal damage. In the same vein, though, Crimson Fatalis also is just kind of very weak. He doesn't have the toughest hit zones, and when he gets enraged, he takes even more damage. So while he does have about 1.5k, I think, more HP than a regular Fatalis, I do believe, well, it's really a toss-up. It's not an easy black and white answer. You have the siege equipment in this particular quest with Black Fatalis. You have the Dragonator. You have cannons, which I don't really like using the cannons in this quest because they're stationary and you can't aim them. But you do have ballista ammo. However, I do find that regular Fatalis is tankier. He doesn't have as weak hit zones. And surprisingly, White Fatalis has the least of the trio at 29,000, which is still more than his 23,000 in his regular form. But as you can see, I've already completed this one, and I did that with not min-max Prowler gear, like pretty much at the start of our little post-game foray. So I didn't really see much of a point in doing White Fatalis again because I've already shown that I can do it. And you get the full 50 minutes here, you just can't repel them. You have to kill them. But the extra 25 or however long it is, I think it's like 15, actually helps you a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and actually do Fatalis. If you're curious about Electron, it only has 19,000 HP, which it is very tanky, so that does kind of offset that. But even still, it's not as much HP. I don't think you're having to deal as much damage. And then, like I said, Nakarkos actually has 33,000, which is a pretty decent chunk, but I think that's pretty easy to negate. And then finally, Atalka has close to it. I think it's around 31 to 32,000, so a little bit less, and that's split between her HP and her mech's HP, which you do have to deal damage to and actually deplete the HP of the mech. So that is another thing to think about. But I will do this one at some point just because I think it's fitting. It is the final boss, as opposed to Nakarkos, which I really just don't like fighting in general. I don't really find it that fun. So we're going to go ahead after this ramble and take the quest called End of a Dark History, which has us slaying a Black Fatalis in the Castle Shade for 50 minutes, have our dragon weapon equipped, and I'll go ahead and head on out. Alright, so we're going to do our usual strategy of just grabbing stuff out of the box that we can use. I'm not going to worry about grabbing more ballast ammo. I don't really think I'll need it that much because we're going to be doing most of the damage ourselves. Of course, Dragonator is there, but Dragonator honestly isn't super amazing for the amount of effort it takes sometimes to use it. Yes, you do want to use it, and since it is on a timer, you do want to actually leverage that. However, you don't feel too bad about it, and especially if you're in a group of 4, unless you're really needing the topple for whatever reason, which I don't really think you do, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. And again, especially because the HP increase that happens is not comparable to the time increase, as far as I think. I don't know, I'm not very good at math, so maybe I'm wrong on that, but it doesn't feel like the extra amount of HP is really doing much compared to the extra amount of time you get to actually beat him. So it's not making it that much more difficult at the very least. Of course, he'll survive for longer, but if you're already slaying the 35-minute versions, which I have been, you're going to be A-okay, certainly. So don't really worry too much about that. Of course, I'll use the ballista ammo whenever I do get the option, but until then, I'm just going to kind of chip away at them and have some fun with them, because it is just a Fatalis. It's not the most engaging monster. Elytrion's more engaging, as long as it's on the ground. Then it can fly, and that's also not as interesting either. I do think probably Crimson is the better of the 3. White Fatalis is special, and then it's, White Fatalis, but other than the special theme, I don't really know if it would be my favorite of the bunch. I do think Crimson was just a lot of fun. Even though he has a lot of HP, again, he's super weak, so a lot of nice pickings for his owns, making him actually pretty decently fun to fight. He is a bit more spammy with his AoE and stuff like that, but you just have to be careful on that front. I know I'm not respecting your space, Fatalis, but that's okay. If I were worried about respecting your space, I would have maybe fought you a little bit more, but as you saw, I haven't completed this quest yet. I've done it before in my lifetime, but it's probably been like 2 or 3 years. This is certainly a partially blind quest, but sometimes that's fun. I don't really feel like I need to prepare. I'm getting a little greedy and hit with these fireballs, but that's alright. Don't have to play it perfectly. I think that'll be more of a testament to how Prowler can be used, as opposed to if you're min-maxing all of your DPS and you're still getting like 49-minute hunts. That does kind of sting a little bit. Dodge that. Actually want to be a little bit aggressive, I think. Will that hit under you? Kind of. Okay, yes it will. No, I'm not sure. I think if you're like in his wheelhouse, you should be fine. I don't think he can aim that low, but maybe not. I'm going to try to actually incorporate lunges. And as you saw, there are vertical strikes, so of course you can get them out if you absolutely want to. You can actually go ahead. I do not have Go Fight Wound equipped, which is really my bad. I should have equipped it before I started this, but that's okay. Again, I don't need it. It is just nice, comfy use case, especially for this monster, which is actually... Is it affected by flash? I don't remember. You think I would remember these things, but I think however many parts into this we are, you know that I'm not the most prep-oriented player. He's just gonna slam into this. I'm gonna actually dodge just in case. That's a bit awkward for him to land. Again, if I had Go Fight Wound here, I'd use it, but I don't really have that option. I guess I could use Soothing Roll, but I don't think the Dragonator is gonna hit. Now it will, so get out of this animation. Watch that. The second one may not hit. If not, that's fine. Gets me to, or frees me up to not have to worry about that at the very least, so that'll be okay. We'll reapply these over here. And we'll just go back to it. Again, I know it's not the most interesting thing because we fought Fatalis before, I think I've proven, but just as to say you can, you know, and it is Fatalis, it's one of the special fellas that you fight. I do think he will probably be the tankiest of the 3 if you take everything into consideration, because White Fatalis does have its armor mode, but it also still has the ballista armaments, all that fun stuff, so you're dealing the same damage at the very least on that front, so it's more of a how weak is the monster in general. And I do believe that White Fatalis specifically does have just overall better hit zones as opposed to regular Fatalis. And I think even regular Fatalis has the armor mode. Again, these are things I've talked about before, but I don't commit too much stuff to memory, especially if you don't fight Fatalis too often. It's not really the most important thing unless you're like min-maxing trying to farm. That's a bit different, but even then you don't have to remember that all the time. I do think you have to like hit pretty high up to actually get the mounting damage off, because even then you see there I'm not even hitting him with it. There may actually be a better spot to hit him. Maybe just hitting the hands is what's not letting it go off. Maybe I need to hit the neck. That would actually be a good idea. Or the wings. Wings may work. It's still not activating, which I find odd, but oh well. I think I'm good to throw a Mega Boomerang out here. I will try a Flash Bomb Bait just to see if it works. I don't think it's, again, going to be turning the tide of battle at all. At the very least, making it any faster, but we'll try this here. He may be too far away right now. That was close enough to where I don't know. He's gonna look at me here, so I'll just let him turn around. Alright, you're gonna get flashed. That still was kind of close. I'm not quite sure if that was just out of range or not. As I've said before, old gen flash bombs are not the most consistent. At the very least in newer gens, they have better range, and you can kind of at the very least tell where it ends. At the very least, somewhat. But I'm gonna say he probably can't be flashed. It is kind of a weird thing. He does have eyes, he does use them, but I guess if anything with eyes is not going to be affected by flash bombs, it would be this fella. Okay, well, there goes my second acorn. Again, it's perfectly fine. I'll try to tighten the belt here and actually not go down to piddly little attacks like that. What's that? His face, maybe get a... Okay. So the neck and the face are where you get mount attacks off. And since that's the case, it's more or less only going to happen when he's on all fours. Maybe like the top of the chest counts, but I'm not going to really bank on that being the only option. Got fireball. I'm going to throw this out. Wait for him to throw another one out. He does not. Just turns around, which is good. Cat's going to heal me. Play a little bit more recklessly at the very least. He may attack me here. Thankfully, he doesn't do the White Fatalis thing of going up into the air and disappearing, which also is another thing that would offset White Fatalis on its HP, especially if he does it enough, but I really don't think he would for it to matter that much. You can actually lunge here. Try to get that mount off. Okay, well, there's the tackle. Tackle is a bit annoying, but there's plenty of startup to it, so unless you are just trying to be greedy and go for a mount, or do anything in front of him, that should be something you expect, because he can't really do much in terms of physical attacks. It just kind of is slow body movement dealing lots of damage to you. There's fire. Okay, apparently the neck is a hitbox there. That's interesting. As you saw, it wasn't, you know, actually dealing full damage. It's just kind of like Narguga's little arm movements whenever he does his tail sweeps from the side. This is a more difficult mount than a normal monster, which, again, something you should expect. But it's not difficult, just as long as you don't get greedy, you're fine. I think that actually broke one of the horns at the very least. I don't know if that's guaranteed. Wouldn't surprise me if it is, because some monsters have like the special part breaks if you get a mount off, and Fatalis especially, for how much more difficult the mounting is, at the very least, for a monster that can at the very least be mounted. You know, sometimes it's impossible because the monster just is not mountable. But I think in this specific scenario, it may actually be a specific thing where you're rewarded for actually getting mount. So, I don't know though, maybe I didn't see the horn break. I think I did though. I saw parts chip off, but maybe I just imagined that. I'm not really seeing any breaks on his face. I think there's a spike broken on his neck, but that may just be like his standard design. Yeah, I mean, there's a spike broken there, but I don't know if that counts for breaking his neck or if that's just how he normally is. So, oh well, not the most important thing. But no face break so far. Not that getting a face break with Prowler especially is super difficult, just because it's Fatalis. Pretty much any part of the neck and the face is going to count towards face damage, so just gonna keep chipping away at it if you need an evil eye, goodness, or something like that. Look at me, please. There we go. That was actually a little close there. I thought I was early, but I was not. I was in fact very, very, very right on point there. Not intentionally, of course, but that's fine. We'll take it. Very good. And also this about Atolka, it is definitely more gimmicky than something like Fatalis. Like Fatalis, most of the time you're just fighting it on the ground, but it is more interesting. And I think that is like, if you can keep the difficulty of a fight while still keeping it interesting, I think that's a really good balance that you want to try to strike. And, you know, I wouldn't really be able to compare, like, Atolka to Fatalis and World, right? Because Fatalis and World is nothing compared to Fatalis and Old Gens. And I don't mean difficulty-wise. I mean just they are not alike at all, really, other than sharing some similar moves and stuff like that. But Fatalis and World is just much more threatening and definitely puts a lot more pressure on you because you cannot just repel it. You have to slay it, and you only have 30 minutes to do that. And yes, there are the 5th gen conditionals that you do have to break certain parts to make it so the monster isn't like dealing super large amounts of damage, which that's something I could leave or take, really. That's not really my favorite thing in the world. I do prefer it when the conditional break options are more of a help for you than a hindrance if you don't. Like, probably brought this up 10,000 times before, but Dread Queen Rathian, cutting her tail off helps you a lot. Then it weakens her poison. Just even breaking the tips off of the tail weakens the poison, which helps a lot as well. So that would be where I like it. And, you know, obviously there's a bunch of other monsters that have that similar mechanic as well. Kushala breaking the horns and also just poisoning it will change its mechanics with its wind and all that fun stuff. But when the monster specifically like gets just to the point where it spams one-shot fireballs because you didn't break its head twice, maybe once, maybe you only have to break it once, which you're going for the head most of the time anyways, but still it is a little off-putting. I guess I don't mind it for one-off monsters, and that is a very rare scenario where that does happen, but they do continue that in the newer games with more conditionals where if you don't want to have like really unfun time with stuff, then you do want to break random parts off of the monster, just depending on what it is. So the more that happens, the less unique it is, and the less interesting it's going to be, and it's just going to feel more like a chore than anything else. So it is something you have to play carefully with, if that makes any sense at all. I do enjoy Fatalis World, though it's been probably like 2 years at least since I've fought it, so I guess it's not that fun if I don't find a desire to go back to it constantly. But I don't think that really speaks about how bad the monster is. It's just more that I don't want to have to go back and do all the stuff to set up to be able to fight it and all that fun stuff. But it is a good challenge. Again, it's one of those things where you grind it out for a long time. You get the clears, you get consistent at the clears, and you do get rusty once you stop because you've got the gear or whatever. So once you get rusty, it is a bit of a swing to get back into it, but it can be fun. But also, by the time you want to get back into it, there may be another game out with another monster that's similar. Like in Wilds, there's the Omega Planets, which is actually a collaboration monster, so that's probably more similar to Extremith, except for the fact that Extremith is more multiplayer oriented, unless you're using like G-Rank gear, and even then I think it's still pretty difficult. But thankfully with Wilds, I will say this, I do like the introduction of the well, I guess it's not really an introduction, Sunbreak did it first, but the NPC hunters. That makes the multiplayer scaling sit fine in my stomach, as opposed to World, where it's just like, well, and I know I'm playing a game with semi-multiplayer scaling in the hub, but I think it's a bit different when a monster is scaled for 4 players as opposed to GU, where the monsters are mostly in hub scaled for 2.5. You really don't want to move over here, do you? I highly advise it, but I guess if you're playing out the clock, you don't really have much of a reason to. I'm going to go ahead and just signal, get the cats over here, because I think that's probably why he's sitting over there. They don't really seem to have any concern for their lives, so they're not moving. And he doesn't really see a need to, because he has targets right next to him, and he can just shoot fireballs at me if he absolutely desires to, so that is something that will happen. Gonna keep waiting over here. Hopefully you actually waddle over this way. Really doesn't seem like he wants to. Give another signal. I'm gonna actually dig here. See, this is, at this point, if I weren't wanting to go for the Dragonator just because it's the Dragonator, I'd probably just start fighting him, because he'll get in the mood to move a little bit more, but I guess in his old age, I guess that would be more fitting for old Fatalis, though. In his spry, young prime, he does want to rest his legs a little bit sometimes. I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. Okay. Well, thank you, Windpress, for pushing me out of the way of that. That helps a lot. Roar. Don't really have a lot of gauge here, so I'm just going to attack the chest. If he turns to look at me, I'll get a lunge off. Dodge into this. Get this ready. You're going to face turn towards me. You'll have to do 2. Lunge that out. You're going to do this again, which gives me the exact same option. I'm very surprised that kickback did not hit me. It does have a weird hitbox, but even still, I was staring it straight down, so I don't know why it didn't actually activate, but I'm not going to complain. As per usual, I am waiting to use the ballista binders if I get a chance when my gauge is full. But if that never really happens, then that probably means either I'm getting hit too much, which I probably don't need to burn all of my gauge, like so, or I'm using enough Mega Boomerangs anyways. I'm finding enough openings, so I don't really feel the need to stop everything just to pull out the ballista binder to get a couple of Mega Boomerangs off. Again, ideally that's the case. You're just weaving your Mega Boomerangs into combos and just downtime, stuff like that. That's just going to help you in the long run, as opposed to trying to unload them all at once. Though there are some monsters where unloading them all at once is actually better. It just really depends. Also depends on what state the monster's in, what weak spots are appearing. Like for Nakarkos, as we said before, he has a very weak spot that you can hit once he's down. So you do want to save at the very least some good DPS there, or for that at the very least. Same with Atolka, though Atolka is a bit more interesting because you could also use that gauge to actually attack it while it's up in the air when it's in its mech, because you can reach that with Mega Boomerangs and regular Boomerangs. It's just easier to hit with a Mega, or you save it once you get up there and then use them all. It is just kind of a sitting duck. And then there's the combination of, do you want to use your Mega Boomerangs while you have them cheap, or do you want to save them to potentially get more damage off while they're in a more compromised state? So just a lot to think about. You are being very interesting with your tackles. I'm not. My guard is not up at all. This is more like a casual chat than anything, not a min-maxed DPS hour, so I'm not really that worried about it. But hopefully I will get a little bit better on not being too greedy and actually dodging the tackles, because once you dodge the tackles, you're in a really good position for just countering stuff, as we've seen. Just staring in the corner. You right, buddy? Maybe he really is tired. Maybe he's had a long work week. ravaging villages and cities. He just wants a nice, quiet evening watching the weird black hole in the sky. Oh well, can't really do that. Plop down. I don't know if that'll hit. It will hit. Oh, but my other cat doesn't. Okay. That's fine. I don't really need it right now, but okay, well, the roar cancels it anyways, so didn't matter that much. Well, that was close. Stay off to the side. Go for the chest. A fireball. Fly back. Fly forward. Keep attempting to go for the chest. Rage now. You're doing this again. That's so much fun. Think I'm safe here. Yes. Did a fairly quick head turn though. Oh, that's because he was changing towards my palico actually. Get another break. Probably wing break if I had to guess. That's what it looks like. Doesn't look like the face is broken again, so most likely what it was. His wings are broken, but they could have been broken earlier as well. Done tail sweep, so 1, 2, dodge. Like that. Don't mind the bounce. I'm gonna throw one out here, wait for him to attack. He's just slamming, so I'm fine. Wind press doesn't scare me that much. He's not gonna be cheap with his wind press combos at the very least, so even getting hit by that isn't that scary. That's gotta be, I think, the actual break on the face that will get you the evil eye, or at the very least give you the chance for it. That's what it looks like. That's good. Oh, also, I do have element attack up. So, Mega Boomerangs aren't dealing as much damage because they do lose that 10% affinity I would have with Critical Up Small. But I am dealing more natural damage with the Dragon element. Would be very nice if I had the access to the Dragon Boost skill, but that's kind of the whole point of this playthrough, is not using DLC skills, so a lot of things would be nice as well. Weakness Exploit, even ranged attack up. I feel like if I'm really missing them that much, that's a little late to be missing them because we're right at the end here. Okay, that... See, it hit me there. I didn't think it would hit me there. In fact, I'm honestly surprised because I tried to throw that dodge out just to catch a stray if it would hit me, and it did, but it did not hit me in the dodge frames at the very least, so... It's very odd. It may have like a diagonal hitbox, so standing straight on it won't hit you, but if you're off to the side even a little bit, it will actually hit you. It doesn't matter too much, but it does sting whenever you do lose an acorn to it, at the very least. There's not really much more you can do in prepping for defending against that, because this is about the highest fire resistance you can get unless you're eating like a meal for it or something like that, but as per usual, element attacks are still made up of mostly raw, with element just kind of adding to that if your resistance is negative. Did you both do it at the same time again? Okay, well hopefully the other cat holds off so they can stagger it. Granted, I wouldn't mind if it actually stacked, but it doesn't, so it's not as useful. This may be a bit greedy, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, you're just ignoring me. It's okay then. Gonna growl. This will give me a great chance to hit you here. Charge that. Dodge to the left. It's gonna slam. Tried to hit his face with that. Didn't quite get there though. Good lunge. There it goes. Okay, so I guess it may be more how close you are to his neck, because it does kind of hit in that area. So I may have just been far back enough, and maybe even off to the side enough the time it didn't hit for me to not be hit, obviously. Lunge, spin. Actually did that pretty quick. Kind of scared me, but it's okay. Get to counter this here. Again, it is just so nice when he does face turn towards you perfectly and you get the pierce right down his throat. Like, that is very nice to be able to get off, because that is a lot of damage just for the amount that it pierces the face, and then the neck is also just nice bonus damage as well. Right. Dodge. I'm sure you're going to do that again, probably. Yes. Stay out of the way. And of course, the DLC quests will deal more damage to you, so that is another thing you have to juggle. I don't really find it that staggering, though, at the very least. I mean, yes, I've already carded once, and I've lost another acorn, so I'm pretty much halfway to death here, but the EX deviants really do just train you in discipline on not expecting to survive hits, so when you do, you just kind of make the most of that. In fact, if you do most of the time not get one shot, it does just kind of make the hunt feel less challenging, which I guess it is. That's kind of a metric you do measure challenge by, is not being one shot by everything, but you do feel it at the very least, which is nice. Again, it's nice to not have to not be hit by everything. You can be a little greedy sometimes, but it doesn't, you know, I guess command the respect something like Fatalis may be desired to command, if that makes any sense at all. The amount you would expect it to command at the very least. It's maybe gonna hit me, not quite. Very good. Just growling at me, it's fine. You're standing at a perfect distance for me to just hit you. Okay, well, I think he was feeling the same, because that was far enough away for the slow projectile to actually throw me off on my dodge. I thought it would hit a little bit faster, and it did not. Right, Dragonator is back up. You can actually not use it right now. Okay, well that didn't even hit. That's fine, we'll be able to use this here. I'm gonna use that to actually get over back to the Dragonator so I can use it. Be nice. That won't hit me, so I'm okay. Just head on over here so you can waddle back over this way. Looks like he's actually gonna make his way over here pretty quickly this time. Oh, cats, please. Okay. They know what to do. They're gonna dig as soon as they possibly can anyways. That was kind of bad, though, that he turned around and tackled immediately. So, hopefully you just keep using your melee attacks. Don't try to shoot me with fireballs, because that's not going to work. Not going to work. However, that did get you closer, so I do commend that at the very least. You're respecting my time. That was good. Still a bit awkward. You can actually try to bank this into the wall to maybe get it to come back quicker. Maybe not as much damage as actually correctly lining that up, but you don't really have a lot of time when he falls, so I'm pretty satisfied with the result there. Yeah, I didn't think he could turn that enough. I was a little afraid, but I wasn't sure. I didn't think he could, but there was a little bit of me in there. Not sure if he would actually do it or not. Okay, that's going to be a tackle. Pretty quick one, actually. Very good. Counter this a couple of times as well. 1, 2, hit me. Counter. It's really nice to get into a flow of just being able to spam Mega Boomerangs as well. I feel like if they only costed 1, but you couldn't lower them with Go Fight Win, it would actually make the class much better. Because obviously I don't want free Mega Boomerangs. I mean, kind of do. I don't know. So if you wanted to balance a free Mega Boomerang, how would you do it? I think you would increase the minimum time it takes to throw. So I don't think you need to increase the maximum at all, because if you can press X at all to get rid of it, then that doesn't really matter. You could hold it forever if you really wanted to. But, well, I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you make it the longer you hold it, the more damage it does, which could actually be pretty interesting. But you would increase probably the minimum time that you have to hold it before it'll let you throw it to 4 or 5 roundabouts instead of the usual 3. That way, while it's free, it is still a fairly high commitment move. And it would only in theory be free under Go Fight Win. Regularly, it would be 1. I think that would be the ideal if that were the case. So that way you can spam it as much as you like under Go Fight Win. You're not affecting your other damage options like your regular boomerangs and stuff like that, which honestly I think should be free as well. That was okay, not very smart, a little early on that, but that's okay. But yeah, ideally your regular boomerang buffs would be free as well, but I understand why they're not. I mean, if they were free, then if they were innate skills as opposed to support moves, that would help, because then you could sink all of your gauge into Flash Bombay, and I mean, you would get 2 free move slots, so that would be really nice. Dump all of your skill points into Flash Bombays, your Soothing Rolls, your Go Fight Wins, your Feline Comets, even if you're using like a mixed build, and then of course your Mega Boomerangs, which you would be able to carry all of them. And if you threw on Support Boost, or Support Move +1 specifically, you would definitely just have a very actually nice tool set to just kind of pull out anything, depending on the weapon you're using, of course, but that would be a nice thing to actually have, just to test it out even. I think that would sound like a lot of fun. I'm sure there's a way to like hack that in, but I don't even want to put the brain power forward to actually try and figure out how that would work. Like in theory, just not using like your last 4, I'd say probably big boomerangs would be a 2-slot skill, and so would piercing. You know, make that cost 4 of your gauge. You add Boomerang Pro, that's 5, so you only have 3 slots left, but you throw on, I'd say probably Weakness Exploit. And I don't know, there's not really many good single slot skills, but that adds the alternative if you want to use earplugs to get more, well, not really more Mega Boomerangs out, because you'd still be getting more if you're not having to use as much gauge on actually building up your regular buffs. So I don't know, this is like the most out of place probably rant. I guess it's not that out of place where we're playing Prowler, right? That's kind of the whole point, but probably doesn't make that much sense. It's probably not the happiest that I'm not talking really much about him, but it is Fatalis. That did extend further than I thought, so you did get me there. You gonna tackle? Okay, I like that. Okay, never, oh wait, no, that was just flinch damage. We get this off. Very good. Nice dodge. Yeah, I'll be able to hit the chest here, and since you roared, I can actually get another one off. Perfect timing for the Go Fight Win. Okay, that was not smart. I should have just waited. Thought I'd get out of its range, but could not. Just gonna Soothing Roll that. Don't really see much of a purpose in trying to dodge it if I have 3 Soothing Rolls. Now that one I did just want to heal off, but wasn't really thinking that much either. If that's not obvious enough already, I'm not really thinking that hard. Turn here. Good flinch. Get the slam. Alright. Very good. I guess it also really doesn't help he doesn't have a phase 2. He's just kind of here. He's not really doing much more. I don't think he even has the armored mode. As far as I can tell, he's not like getting any tougher or anything like that. That may have been a Gen 1 thing specifically, actually. I'm not really feeling the change in weaknesses on like his chest and stuff, which I'm pretty sure at the very least in Gen 1, and I could just be pulling this completely out of my head for no reason. But I think his chest at the very least gets more tough. Like, Like Fatalis does. Oh no, though. Again, not that that's a bad thing. Obviously, we like to be dealing more damage. But, oh well, that's fine. I'm curious what HP you're at. Gotta be under half at the very least, but I'm getting some consistent Mega Boomerangs off at the very least. I'm wasting a lot on healing, but that's kind of my own fault. It's okay though. I'll throw that out, dodge into it. It's probably way too early for that to actually dodge, but it's okay. Fireball. You know, I would have been fine if I didn't actually dodge into that. I'm just risking everything for no good reason. Good job. Alright, I'll try to be quiet here and maybe actually fight him a little bit better. I'm gonna say this and then immediately get swatted by a fireball. You just watch. I am playing on very dangerous ground here, though. My health is not made for this. Would be nice if there was a timer for the Dragonator in the quest menu, but there's not, so you can't really tell. And if you miss the notification, which is pretty easy for cats, and I guess for hunters as well, there's just a lot of stuff in this game that throws up notifications. So if you do miss that, kind of out of luck, unfortunately. I guess if it made like a high-pitched signal, or a different kind of signal, kind of like the supply drops, that would maybe be a little bit more obvious, but I don't know, maybe I'm just complaining about nothing. I'm not really complaining about anything. It's not like it's the end of the world, but it is something to think about. If you're that desperate for it, you're going to check for it anyways if you think it's been long enough. In fact, if you're that desperate for it, you're going to time it. You're going to keep note of that time, but it's only if it's not that important that you're not really going to pay that much attention. It's like on the edge of your seat waiting for the Dragonator to become ready. Counting down the moments. So there's lunch here. I think I'm fine. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Would you look at that? You're actually in a pretty decent spot for it this time. Hopefully this doesn't snipe me. I think it is the sweeping fireball. Nope, never mind. You just like air tackled or something. I think it was the burst into fly thing. So draw you a little closer. That's fine. Probably want to get you to move a little bit more. I don't actually mind this here. That will hit me, I think. So just dodge into it. All right, swipe out. Get going quickly. Can actually center him here though. Oh no, that's bad. Well, I don't think. Okay, maybe one of those hit. Maybe. It's not great, honestly. But another thing to think about health-wise is that the extra time also gives you more chances for Dragonators. So that helps you on the damage front as well. Granted, again, I think that one completely missed, so that's bad. I panicked because of the ledge. It's like, maybe if I spam B here, something good will happen. Did not. That's okay. Again, if I were playing online or, you know, actually trying to go for a good time, I would not be letting my guard down this much, but perfectly fine with letting him smack me around a little bit. Maybe it gives him a self-confidence boost. Not sure why that would matter. That did almost one-shot me. Don't really think he needs it, honestly. May hit me. Right at death's door. I'm actually quite surprised, though, that the flinch hits don't deal like 50% of your HP. That is kind of weird. Alright, there we go. Actually, okay, so wouldn't have been a complete because it's right at 40 minutes. But certainly, I think that would have been a repel. if it were the regular quest with that amount of HP. So honestly, probably if I really actually tried, you probably could get the time below 35 minutes, which is what you would need for the regular quest anyways. So again, that's why it's not that special. It is something, but it's not a benchmark you're like pushing to the absolute max. There are plenty of EX deviants that are going to do that for you just because you cannot play it as absolutely uncaringly as I did here. So either way, I'll go ahead and finish carving him up and I'll meet you back at base. I did end up actually getting 3 evil eyes, which is pretty nice. Not that I need them for anything. I already have 5 of them. So that's cool, I guess. There we go. That is Fatalis. Again, probably not the best choice if I was really wanting to find an elder that was like super high HP, but oh well. Again, it's more fitting than anything. So next time we will take on Atalka, and then after that, we'll have something a little bit more interesting, maybe. Either way, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a comment below and maybe even consider subscribing. Till next time, goodbye.